K2, also known as the Savage Mountain, is the world's second highest peak. Located in the Karakoram Range, it forms a boundary shared by China and Pakistan. Calling the K2 routes technically difficult is an understatement. These routes stand as monuments to the mountain's incredible technical challenges, especially when compared to other climbs. K2 alone poses an almost insurmountable technical challenge. People often describe Everest as more of a hike than K2. Among the world's 5 tallest mountains, K2 has the highest death rate due to its steepness and difficulty. Nearly 1 out of every 4 climbers loses their life attempting it, making it the deadliest peak in the world. Heavy losses occurred during disasters in 1986, 1995, and 2008. K2 offers many routes, but one of the most feared is the Magic Line, a perilous path along the south-southwest ridge. In the 1980s, mountaineers considered it the most formidable challenge on K2. Reinhold Messner named it the Magic Line in 1979, and the first serious attempts on this incredibly demanding route began that summer. 6 climbers set their sights on K2 that year. 2 Italians, including the technically gifted young Renato Casarotto, joined Reinhold Messner and Michael Daché. One Italian was from South Tyrol, and the other climber was from Austria. Their goal was ambitious. They intended to reach the summit via the Magic Line, a route no one had successfully climbed before. Until then, K2 had only yielded 3 successful ascents, in 1954, 1977, and 1978. Messner had already described the route as extremely well organized, but the distance from the glacier to the summit was longer than 3 months of his own climbing career combined. He closely studied the route using a telescope, along with photographs and maps, and concluded that it was impossible. The path was simply too dangerous and difficult, so he never attempted it. This led to conflict. Messner decided to abandon Casarotto's favored Magic Line and instead take the more reliable Abruzzi Spur. On July 12, 1979, they reached the summit, marking only the 4th successful ascent of K2. Not everyone on the team agreed with Messner's choice. Casarotto, who was eager to climb the Magic Line, took the decision made by Messner personally. He blamed Messner for lacking the courage to even try the route and never forgave him. That summer, a French team led by Bernard Millet also tried the Magic Line. Unfortunately, bad weather and the arrival of winter stopped them at around 8,350 meters. Surrounded by towering peaks and mysteries, they faced daunting challenges. Despite these obstacles, the Magic Line remained open, even though 1979 turned out to be the deadliest year for K2, with 13 climbers losing their lives. Still, 27 mountaineers summited K2 that year, and 3 new routes were established, all thanks to their determination. On K2's southern flank, 9 separate expeditions set up camp. 4 teams planned to climb the Magic Line: an American team, an Italian team, a solo Italian climber, and a Polish-Slovak group. The Americans and Italians established Camp 3 at 6,800 meters, but then retreated to base camp, leaving behind 2 American climbers. The Italians planned to return later, but were focusing on Broad Peak for now. On June 21st, a tragedy struck. As American climbers John Smolik and Alan Pennington were leaving Camp 4, a rock slipped from the ridge above and triggered an avalanche that killed both men. Understandably, the rest of the American team decided to cancel their climb. After hearing the news, the Italian team shifted their focus to ascending the Abruzzi Spur instead. Casarotto, obsessed with the Magic Line, returned to K2 in 1986 with his wife Goretta. He aimed to solo the long, unclaimed south-southwest ridge with a slight rightward deviation near the top. While his wife stayed at base camp, they kept in touch via radio. His first attempt failed at 8,200 meters. A second try on June 23rd reached a similar height. On July 5th, he tried again, and despite these limited gains, by mid-July, he had climbed to around 8,300 meters. However, worsening weather forced him to abandon the ascent. After descending the entire ridge on July 16th, he reached the base of the Philippe Glacier, just an hour away from base camp. Day after day, climbers at base camp watched with growing apprehension. With binoculars in hand, Daneberger observed Casarotto as he approached the glacier. Shortly after, Casarotto disappeared as he crossed a snow bridge, one that all previous expeditions had safely traversed without incident. Suddenly, the bridge gave way, and Casarotto plunged into a crevasse about 40 meters deep. Despite his severe injuries, he managed to retrieve his radio from his bag and dialed his wife's number as Daneberger had instructed her to activate it at base camp. Weakly and in pain, he mumbled, "Greta, I am dying," while struggling near the camp. Members of both the Italian and international expeditions quickly organized a search and rescue operation, enlisting the help of their physicians. They rushed to the accident site, lowered a climber down the widening crevasse, and then hauled Casarotto and the rescuer back up. Shortly after his fall, Casarotto lost consciousness. Despite the doctor's best efforts, he succumbed to his internal injuries soon after. His wife, Goretta Casarotto, who had accompanied him on all his solo climbs and provided invaluable emotional and practical support, requested that his remains be returned to that very crevasse. His death shocked the Italian climbing community, which mourned the loss of one of its most prominent mountaineers from the 1970s and 1980s. Casarotto had pioneered new routes in Patagonia, Peru, and the Pakistani Karakoram Mountains. He was also renowned for his solo winter ascents of Mont Blanc and the Dolomites. His remains were discovered by Kazakh mountaineers in 2003, carried downstream as the ice melted, and finally laid to rest at the Gilkey Memorial. That same summer, a courageous but inexperienced Slovakian team, led by Janusz Meyer, succeeded in climbing the Magic Line. Wojciech Wróż, Przemysław Piasecki, and Peter Bojic reached the summit on August 3, 1986, choosing the Abruzzi route for their descent. Tragically, Wróż died 5.5 hours later at 8,100 meters while rappelling down the bottleneck in total darkness. Meyer's team dedicated their achievement to the memories of Pienkowski, Wróż, Casarotto, and Bojic. With help from the American team on the lower half of the route, the Polish-Slovak climbers felt liberated after completing what Renato Casarotto had called the hardest route in the Himalaya and Karakoram. Meyer noted that the Americans and Italians had already fixed ropes for their ascent. The hard work of all teams ultimately solved the most challenging route of the era. Since that first ascent, climbers have repeated the Magic Line only once. In 2004, Catalan climber Jordi Corominas reached K2’s summit at midnight, climbing alone from 8,300 meters using just one bottle of oxygen after two teammates had abandoned the climb. The Catalan climbers achieved an incredible feat. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and leave a comment below. And if you're new here, consider subscribing so you don't miss any future videos.